I'm Balanced. Welcome back to the lounge. I'm here with my friend Nay. What's up, Nay?
Hey,
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, I met Nay online on Facebook. She's an influencer. Got a bunch of posts. Entrepreneur. Nay, can you tell the people about yourself a little bit before we get into our discussion?
Yes, so my name is Nay. I own a brand called SD Nay. I started in 2018. I'm actually an esthetician by trade. I decided in the pandemic to no longer practice skincare and aesthetics, and my business started in 2018. We started to grow. We opened up another boutique. We did fashion shows in LA because we had clothes at the time. We took the clothes away during the pandemic and just focused directly on skincare, makeup, anything to make a woman beautiful. In the pandemic, I opened up a business called Elite Body Treats, and that business made six figures in the first year of the pandemic. And ever since then, we've been growing. I just actually purchased a pallet flipping warehouse a few months ago. That business is doing really, really well. I do online branding, marketing, and various things. And I constantly go viral because some of my posts kind of strike a little nerve.
Yes, and that's how I met you. Is basically well, when I first ran into you was through those posts. And I was like, man, who is this girl? She was out here just stirring the pot, you know what I mean? And I think we got a chance to actually talk, and I just got to pick her brain about some stuff. She's in the you left out the bullies. You do bullies. She kind of gave me some game on some bullies. I was having issues, and so yeah, she's well versed. So Nay, tell them
Yes.
how much shit you be talking online and why people find you controversial.
I mean, some of my posts are just they're just my truth and they're just how I feel about certain things. And I mean, you're more than welcome to your own opinion, but you just won't have an opinion on my page all the
Oh,
time.
so you be shutting them down.
But but I will say like a lot of my posts go viral
Hmm.
because I don't stick to the status quo of this generation. And what's acceptable to this generation just is not acceptable to me sometimes.
Okay, so can we get into that? Like, we was talking about one of your other posts. It was like the one that was one of your biggest, I guess, posts. What was the numbers like on that? And what was you
The first
talking
time I
about?
ever posted it, I had 100,000 shares, and I also had over 1,000 comments, and it was really just men bashing women for not wanting to go 50-50 on bills.
Okay, so what you said men bashing women. So what was the men saying to the women about not wanting to go 50-50? What was their excuses of them
A
not?
lot of men were saying that they didn't want to go 50-50 with a woman because she was a gold digger or she didn't have any work ethic or she was lazy and all of this stuff. And then when you go to look at the man's page, you see he got like six kids that
Okay.
some of them don't even belong to the woman.
Mm, okay. So
So,
that's what you was shutting them down with that, or what you was doing with that? Like you just block them when they say shit, or how you go about
no, I
dictating?
actually engage with the people.
Okay.
I'm going to engage because I want to know, why do you feel like a woman should have to go outside the world and work, then be at home and come in and take care of the house, do all the housework, do all of this stuff that's required for being a woman,
Right.
and then you think she wants to give you half of the money for the bills. Like I just never thought it was fair
Okay.
the way it was always being put out there with men,
Hmm.
but then they don't want to share 50-50 of the responsibilities of the kids, of the housework.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that, see, I follow Kevin Samuels and I listen to a lot of this, and I think a lot of these dudes think just because they got a dick that they should get special treatment when it comes to the household. But if your woman is working and you working, I think it is time for men to realize that you got to pull some weight around the house as well. So um, yeah, I agree with you on that. But so what's some of the other ones that you had some issues with? Where either no matter of fact, you know what? I want to talk about your stance on women because we talked about some things that a lot of women would be mad at you about as well. So what about that? What are some of the things that you don't believe that the new modern woman has wrong as far as dealing with a man or dealing with relationships?
So I think that for us women, we become a little entitled because we look at social media and we see these rappers or these D-boys or these popular internet people buying Hermes bags, buying the more higher up Chanel bags, and we want to sit there and we want to be like, well, we want this lifestyle, we want this, but
Right.
a lot of us aren't even in a position to put ourselves in the realm to get a man who wants to buy that type of stuff for us because look at who we're dating. So I think that as women, we have to date realistically
Mm-hmm.
for the lifestyle we want, if that's what you want. But a lot of these girls will tell you like they're unhappy with these rapper boyfriends and they just get a lot of expensive stuff, but
Right.
they don't get some of the good pillars of a relationship. Like they don't have a faithful man. They don't have a man that comes home regularly. They don't have a man who's helping with the kids. So it's like a takeoff. Like you want to live this rich and famous lifestyle, but you don't want to go through the rough times.
Yeah. So
So
with
I think
go ahead.
we became unrealistic.
And just the goals. And what do you think that a lot of women should do to prepare themselves to get the men that they want? What do you think is like some of the things that need to be done? Like as far as like building themselves up to be in the realm to be with those dudes. What do you think is
I mean,
lacking?
if you want to be in a realm of a rapper and bad rappers in this generation, I mean, makeup done, body done, looking like you supposed to be with him,
Hmm.
and then a lot of girls can attract those rappers. Not gonna say you're gonna be more than just a quick, little smash session, and you might make it to a little bit more,
Right.
and you might not. I mean, you never know. But if you want to look at what these rappers are actually dating
Hmm.
and posting and being with,
Right.
most of the society women we don't fit that model. I
Right.
definitely don't fit that model.
So do you think that's even a realistic goal with a lot of women setting their sights to try to be with somebody that's a D boy or a rapper and thinking that they're gonna have this good lifestyle, or do you think that they should settle for? And I hate to say settle, but it is settling for something that they don't want. You know, that'll probably give them a better life. So I'm gonna use the word settle. You know how people don't like that word, but you are settling if you expect something else, but you're gonna deal with this person.
I mean, but as a woman, which you require, you have to be willing to give and you have to be willing to compromise. And that's the problem. Like, we want to look like this, do this, drive these cars, but we're not compromising our morals. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. I know I'm not going to go get on the table and get, cut up to attract a rapper for
Hmm.
what? I probably wouldn't even like the lifestyle that I have
Right.
with him. So, I mean, I just think that we have to be realistic with what we're asking for. And the
Okay.
type of man that we are asking for might not even be the type of man that God even wants us to have.
Okay.
That's why you don't have him.
True. And a lot of people will never have them. So, um, as far as like your upbringing, so how was you brought up as a kid? Was you brought up like single mom, or did you have a stable family? What was your upbringing like?
So my mom had me in her late teens,
Okay.
and my grandmother and my great grandparents were like really heavy influence in my life. So
Okay.
I grew up stable. Like I didn't grow up not stable and not having whatever I wanted, but
Hmm.
I primarily lived with my grandparents and my grandmother. And I did live with my mom, but my typical upbringing, seeing a family came from my grandparents and my great grandparents.
Okay. And they gave you a good lifestyle from what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, I went to private school. I had a lot of different things. I played sports if I wanted to. I was brought up in a strict environment, though, I will say. Like, it was a lot of things that I learned early on, like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, cleaning up when you get out of school. Homework is the most important thing. If grades weren't good, you couldn't do certain things. And I never got bad grades until I was in, like, high school.
Okay. And is that where you kind of started hanging with a certain crowd or something in high school? Because I know that everybody goes through the phase of where they listen to their parents and stuff, and then eventually you kind of drift away from that and start doing whatever it is you want to, and kind of getting in trouble and stuff like that. I'm not saying that that's your story, but I know a lot of people hit a certain age and start, experiencing that in life.
So I started kind of wilding out in my preteens. And that was around the time that my great grandfather had got really sick.
Okay.
So I started wilding out because I didn't have nobody really was paying me any attention. So I just was like, I would go hang out with my friends. By this time, I was in public school. We were doing things, catching the bus.
Get my
I ran
attention.
away a few times
You
in
ran away.
my preteens. Yes,
Okay.
I ran away.
Yeah. All right. What?
I ran away in junior high, and then I ran away my freshman year in high school. And then after that, I just stopped running away because I didn't want to keep getting in trouble, keep getting all my nice stuff took in,
Okay.
being made to be forced in the house with old people. Like,
Okay. So I guess with that being said, when did you start dating, and what was that like for you when you started dating or getting into serious relationships and stuff like that?
so I didn't get into real serious relationships until like 10th grade, 11th grade year.
Okay.
And before that, though, like, everybody got their little boyfriends, boy toys, the little boys that they sneak and talk to on the phone.
Right.
So, I mean, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But serious relationship, I
Yeah.
would say I was like 16. And we stayed together for like a few years, like on and off, kind of. I'm not going to say that it was a good thing to be with somebody like that, but
Okay.
I'm going to say like it helped a lot.
So what did you learn from that relationship? That's probably something that you use to this day, or something that you either use as a positive or a negative, like a,
Some guys have mommy issues and they project them in their relationships.
Okay, give us an example.
Example, the person that I dated at that age, he was a lot older than me, and he had mommy issues. Like his mom basically just wasn't a good mom to him
Okay.
growing up, and she kept having kids. So he had a lot of issues with like his upbringing, how he was treated. He was treated a lot different than his other siblings. And like they say, the oldest kid goes through everything with their mom. And when you're young and you have a kid, that oldest kid goes through every milestone. You just grow up with that kid.
Right.
So a lot of women don't understand when you're having kids young and you going through a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That baby is right there with you. That baby remembers everything that it goes through.
Yeah.
So that just projects sometimes into your older sons or your older daughters' lifestyle that they live when they start dating.
Okay. So did you find anything like from your mom that kind of went that you brought into your dating? Because you said your mom had you young as well, right?
She did, but luckily, for the most part, like my younger years, my grandmother had me,
Okay.
right? So I watched my mom leave to go to work or wherever she was going to work, whether she was working a job, having a salon, out hanging out in the streets. Like I would see my mom,
Right.
but the difference is my mom's not like super nurturing.
Okay. Not
She's
affectionate.
not like how my grandma is.
Yeah, I've heard that a
So
lot. Like a lot of modern women, like I guess around the '70s, man. A lot of people whose parents was coming up around the '70s and around that time, they not nurturing. I don't know where the disconnect is, because my grandmother was kind of the same way. She was a nurturer. My mom was an affectionate. A lot of people that I talk to has experienced the same thing. So it's just something around that era, I think, where I guess the parents was preoccupied with other shit. Sound like.
I mean, because if you think about it, growing up in the 70s, it was like my mom used to tell me, I watched your grandma go to work and she worked two jobs. Like,
Right.
so she did, my grandmother, by the time I came along, she was really stable in her career.
Right.
Like, my grandmother became a grandma in her 40s.
Mm.
So she was super stable. Like she had been teaching hair for like 10 years at this point. She had a salon in Richmond. Like my grandmother was able to do so much for me. And she was able to like basically not really right her wrongs with her kids by her being so busy and her being a young mother herself. She was able to just say like, if I want to take Saturday off, I'm going to take Saturday off and take her to the park. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that.
Right.
So I got to have a lot of nurturing from my grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
So when
So,
my mom tried to be nurturing, it was
mhm.
kind of like, why are you being nice to me?
Damn. So okay, back to the dude with the mommy issues, because I kind of sidetracked you there. So dude with the mommy issues, how did that play out in your relationship, and what did he expect of you that he wasn't getting from his mom, and what has that taught you about dating? Does it send red flags when a guy does the same thing, or does it just put you on not to fuck with him, or what did you take from that? The issues that you pulled from that first relationship.
Like he couldn't connect properly. Like he like to this day I still think he loves me. He tells me like if we talk, he's like I still love you, blah blah blah.
Mm.
But it wasn't a I love you. I'm gonna be here. I'm nurturing towards you. It wasn't like that. But men are not naturally nurturing sometimes either.
Right, right,
So it's like I love you, but I'm gonna go do all types of crazy stuff. But then I want you to forgive me because I love you. So
right.
it was like a difficult type of love to go through being that young, and I just didn't understand it, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know I have mommy issues, and then I have dad issues.
Okay.
So it's like being with somebody who has some of the same similarities as me didn't work for me
Yeah. So
because sometimes I'm not nurturing. Sometimes I can be an asshole and be mean in my delivery because that's what I kind of grew up around in one household, but in another household, I grew up around complete love.
so how do you work through the issues in your relationships? How do you fix that? How do you like? Okay, because I was talking to somebody and I was telling them like you can have two people. Because I would say like a couple of my relationships where we both have issues, but if you both are willing to work on those issues, it can, I guess, void out the toxicity of that relationship. But if one person is willing to work on their issues and someone isn't willing to work on their issues or don't see that they have issues, then that's where the relationship becomes toxic. You get what I'm saying? Because you can have a problem with me. Say we're in a relationship. You can have a problem with me and I can have a problem with you. And when we discuss those problems, we both say, okay, I can see where you get that. And we both work on those problems. But if one person only believes that it's one way, I think that's where a relationship becomes toxic. Is that?
So my approach now is
Mm-hmm.
I try to listen to what happened, like what went wrong, because sometimes like I don't know everything, you don't know everything,
Right.
so I definitely sit back and I listen to the person's feelings, and I'm like, well, maybe I was mean, maybe I didn't do what you wanted me to do in that scenario, and maybe sometimes I have to set up a boundary, like some things I just refuse to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. Just like you have to set up your boundary, some things you refuse to do.
Right. So when you
So I
refuse,
just think you just have to talk to each other and figure out where was the disconnect and where was the miss in the communication.
okay. So what did you take from the relationship with the guy having the mommy issues? Like, is there something that you see that you use when you meet other guys now that you kind of look for?
So I look for communication. Like, are you a good communicator?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's something that's bothering me that I'm doing, let me know.
Right.
Don't just get an attitude. And I mean, this generation, some of these guys is a little sassy right
Yeah,
now. I don't
they
know
real
what's going
sugar.
on with the little sassiness. Like, I hate to be blocked. So if we get into an argument and you block me,
Yeah.
that's weird to me. You're a
Right.
man. Men do not block women because they're having an attitude. You should be able to articulate what happened.
Well, what about
So
because
once as a man you do something sassy to me, I'm just like, you know what, sis, you are very sassy. We
you
having
very
some
sassy.
issues.
So, but okay, what if it's an issue that like, because like I said, I've blocked women before when I feel that it's it's like to that point where you have to, you know what I mean? Because if the communication is bad, so because I'm the type of dude that I volunteer way too much information. If you doing some shit to me, I'm gonna tell you how I feel about it and all that shit. You know what I mean? So I come with the look. You gotta fix this, 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 and that. I'm not gonna sit up here and beat around the bush. If it's bothering me, I'm gonna let you know. And some people will take that as, well, I didn't ask you that, or I didn't. I volunteer too much information. Basically, is what I get sometimes. So, how do you feel about a dude that comes up to you and tell you what he feel about what's going on? Is that a plus or is that a minus, or can it be both?
That's a complete plus. Like, is that my husband telling me everything that's going on? Or, I'm just playing. But
Yeah, no,
I
I hear
really
you.
think that that's like a big plus. And
Yeah,
like, I would love to marry somebody who could communicate 100%.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a Virgo, but I hear a lot of Virgos, especially the men, saying that when it's certain things that bother us, we real vocal about it. You know what I mean? But I guess like I said, I understand that sometimes it can be a little bit hounding, especially if you got to talk to somebody multiple times about shit. So, I'm looking at that and I'm trying to find a balance between certain shit that I do as well. So that's why I'm just asking that question. So, moving on. So, what about your most recent experience in dating and relationships? What do you think the outlook of that is for you at this point in your life, being that you've brought yourself above like the level of a lot of women because you're an entrepreneur, you don't have no day job, you just basically do this for a living and you making enough money to sustain your lifestyle and do things that you want to do. What does the dating pool look like for you, as far as what you looking for in life as well? Like, what are you running into as far as the quality of men that's coming towards you and the way they try to talk to you or bring up what they offer?
So far, the dating pool for me is like, I'm not going to say it's limited, but I will say it's a lot of red flags right now in the pool.
Okay.
And a lot of red flags are just, for me, lazy, want a woman to take care of them.
Hmm.
I've like came across that a lot. Or a lot of men want to know, what do I bring to the table versus what can we bring to the table with each other.
Right.
So I think right now a lot of guys who took the Kevin Samuels ideology
Right.
don't even qualify to even listen to him at this point in
I
their
agree.
life.
I agree. A lot of dudes, and that shit by, and I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers too that's kind of going off that, and I just hate when these motherfuckers on that one-sided shit like, oh, women have to do this, women have to do that. Nah, y'all niggas need to do some shit too, and y'all can't just like I always get into arguments with niggas in these Kevin Samuel groups where they just regurgitate the same shit over and over and over again, and it's like, okay, but how do you balance that shit out? Because I think what Kevin Samuels did for me was he showed me a way to be more of a man, like with lifestyle, just things to kind of expect, and you use that as like as building blocks. You don't take everything. You take some of the stuff that works. In every situation, I think is different. And I think a lot of these dudes are just running around thinking that they gonna just spit this shit back to somebody because it sounds good, but they don't have the shit that needs to support it. You know what I mean? That's needed to support it. And they just be saying shit.
You know, I think that the problem with the Kevin Samuels ideology
Hmm.
is not enough men that actually fit the mold that were black men for a lot of black women in
Right.
a lot of cities.
Hmm.
So, like, okay, a man can make six figures, right?
Yep.
$100,000 is not a lot of money when you break it down to the
No.
cost of living in the Bay Area,
No.
San Francisco. Like, you
Not at
are
all.
essentially barely making it
It's the new
in a lot of
minimum.
cities,
It's the new
right?
minimum wage. Yes.
So a lot of men are like, well, I make six figures. She got to make six figures. That's cool. That's $200,000. That means you guys each make about $600 a day. That's cool, right?
Right.
But you also not telling the girl, I got five kids. I'm on child support.
Yeah.
So your $100,000 it went down tremendously. You are expected to still be a dad to those kids over there. You're expected to still buy them nice things. You're expected to do all of this stuff. So now, once again, the woman is in a position that sometimes we don't even know we in this position with you because some men won't be forthcoming if they have a crazy amount of kids.
Right.
So now you just like, my check always short. You thinking that he only got one or two kids, but he got some older kids that he probably don't even talk about anymore or don't see because of the issues with the mom. So I think that that ideology of being a six-figure earner, being a high-value man, a high-quality man, and you can attract the high-quality woman, for a lot of people, it's not that easy.
Right.
And it's not as simple as they thought it would be with the Kevin Samuels ideology.
Yeah.
Because, say, for instance, you do make $1 million, right?
Mhm.
You make $1 million a year, right?
Yep.
You on child support. You come to the table with all these kids, and then you get this girl who she's younger than you. She don't have no kids. She starts saying she wants kids. She wants to be married. You
Right.
want her because of all her physical attributes to the world.
Mhm.
But outside of that, she's really nothing. She's just like a bag of rocks. She's just a dressed up bag of rocks.
Yeah.
So then that means that's another person you have to take care of. She's gonna want a nanny because she feels like y'all got money.
Right.
She only want one or two kids because she wants to take pictures of them on Instagram and post them because everybody else around her has kids.
Right.
So now you taking on this big expense that can't even do what you need done as a man.
Now I understand that. Yeah, because a lot of women aren't qualified to do their part of that either. So you know, what I mean, I think like with the in like I guess like what Kevin Samuels did bring to the table is that we don't look enough at ourselves, the men nor the women, the men nor the women, because we will want a bunch of shit, but we won't work for the shit that we want. You get what I'm saying? And I think that's why the people that do make six figures and the ones that are responsible that don't just make six figures and buy property and do other things and just not trying to stunt and like have businesses and stuff, they understand what work is, where a lot of people are into the Instagram what is it, influencer lifestyle, and they think that this shit just comes, you get what I'm saying, and they rent shit and buy a bunch of shoes and a bunch of shit to look good, but the inside is fucked up. Like you said, like a bag of rocks, a dumbass bag of rocks. You feel me? And don't have really shit to offer, but a bunch of bullshit and argument. You know what I mean? Once it comes down to living that lifestyle. So,
So I will say this much, right?
okay.
The influencer lifestyle is a hard lifestyle,
Mm,
right? Because constantly everybody plays with your money. Brands want to send you items and then give
mm,
you 10 to 20% off for your followers. Sometimes they even ask you to purchase the item and then
yeah.
promote it, and then you get a kickback later on. So being an influencer is definitely difficult for me sometimes.
Mm,
And a lot of influencers, like it's groups of black women that say like they're not paying us what they pay the white girls. They're not paying us what they are paying the Hispanic girls. So
okay.
we're begging for equal pay as usual. We're always begging for equal pay at this point, being black, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very hard lifestyle. But then you have people, and I'm not gonna say any names,
Mm,
that are buying rented Maseratis. They're
of
not
course.
even buying rented. You
Renting them.
can't
Yeah.
buy a rented car,
Yeah.
but you're renting a car, and then you're telling people buy my credit repair book. But you was
Right.
a scammer
Right.
before
Right.
you
Right. Right.
even
Right.
learned about credit repair. So now you got a jump start because you took your scamming money and you're telling people, I
Yeah.
made this off of credit repair. I know how to do this. And technically, they're learning as they go, but you didn't actually work for the item. You
No.
scammed for the item.
Mm-hmm.
So now in this generation, we're just a
It's
smoke and mirror
Yeah, it's
generation.
all about appearance. That's what I'm saying. It's all about this appearance, and people will, fake it till they make it. And at one point, fake it till they make it was a good thing, but I think it's now the norm. And you faking a whole bunch of shit. You know what I mean? You faking a whole bunch of shit that's just like you faking too much now. You get what I'm saying? It's just too much faking going on. So I totally understand what you're saying. So Nay, I want to end this right now, and then we gonna go into what we talked about doing. Like I want to kind of go into some things that's trending, and we gonna talk about some stuff that's trending. So we gonna take a little break real quick, and then we'll come back and start recording again and do some of the stuff that we was talking about on some trending stuff because
Okay,
you
perfect.
hella funny when it comes to that shit. I need that shit that you be giving when you be online because you had me rolling one day and I was like, this motherfucker is funny. Um, yeah, so we gonna go into that and try something a little different. So we'll be back.